Wow, hello my people. Thanks for subscribing to my channel. Your wish has always been my command. Thanks always. Well, meanwhile, this is another one. All right, this is another one. On this one, it says Tinubu, Alpha Beta, others accused of fraud, tax evasion, money laundering. Okay, Dapo Apara, a Nigerian chartered accountant, has accused a former governor of Lagos State, Bola Tinubu, a consulting firm, Alpha Beta, and a former commissioner in the state, Akin Doherty, of money laundering, fraud, tax evasion, and sundry corrupt practices. Mr. Apara, in rage of summons, deposed to at a Lagos High Court, claimed that Mr. Tinubu and Alpha Beta reneged on certain agreements reached in the past about the management and control of the consulting firm. Alpha Beta is a consulting firm handling the computation, tracking, and reconciliation of internally generated revenue (IGR) in Lagos State in return for a commission. Mr. Apara, who claims to own 30% stake in the company, alleged that Mr. Tinubu has directed and dictated the affairs of the company by diverting assets to himself at the detriment of the claimant. Mr. Apara claimed that apart from owning 30% stake in the company, other stakeholders are Michael Ogumola, trading under the name and style Mono Consulting, 40%, Tunde Badejo, trading under the name and style Ebo Consult, 15%, and again Tunde Badejo, trading under the name and style Intergrave Services, 15%. He also claimed that the company was being used for massive corruption purposes, including tax evasion, bribery of government officials, diversion of funds, and money laundering. The 40-page writ of summons sent by Premium Times was used by Mr. Apara's lawyer Tade Ipadeola. Details of the claims include an order compelling an account of all sums due to Mr. Apara from 2010 till date, an order tracing all funds and assets due to him from the inception of the company to date, an order of specific performance of certain clauses of the partnership agreement that created the company by extant partners, an order for payment to the claimant by the defendant. All sums are judged to be due to him on the submission of the account, and payment of 10% interest on the sum are judged to be due to him. The first, second, and third defendants, according to the rate, include Alpha Beta Consulting, Mr. Tinubu, and Mr. Doherty, respectively. Mr. Tinubu was Lagos governor between 1999 and 2007, while Mr. Doherty served in different capacities in Mr. Tinubu's government, notably as Commissioner for Finance between 2005 and 2007. Tade Ipadeola, Mr. Apara, claimed that sometime in 2000, he solely conceived, prepared, and presented a proposal to the Lagos state government on providing consultancy services using his firm, Infinity System Enterprises, with respect to using computerization to track and reconcile the internally generated revenue (IGR) of the state. Following the presentation of his proposal to the Lagos state government, Mr. Apara claimed that Mr. Tinubu, who was at the time the governor of Lagos State, demanded that 70% equity interest in the project be assigned to a certain Olumide Ogumola before he will approve the project. Mr. Aparat said he then met the said Mr. Ogumola, who he had never met before, and it was agreed that a limited liability company be incorporated, in which Mr. Apara will hold 30% shares, while Mr. Ogumola and his partners will hold 70% of the shares of the company. Alpha Beta Consulting Limited was incorporated in 2002 with the shareholding ratio that shows that 30% was allocated to Mr. Apara, 40% for Mr. Ogumola, and 30% for Adegboyega Oyetola. It seems unclear if the said Mr. Oyetola is the incumbent governor of Osun State, a close ally of Mr. Tinubu. Mr. Paras said that upon the commencement of business operations, Mr. Tinubu directed that the 30% shareholding of Mr. Oyetola be transferred to one Tunde Badejo, and this was done. He added that although he was a signatory to all the bank accounts of the company, payment from the bank account required only two signatories, which was mostly handled between the other two partners, Mr. Ogumola and Badejo. After the incorporation of Alpha Beta Consulting Limited in 2002 and the company, Mr. Apara said it was structured according to the dictates of Mr. Tinubu. In his official capacity as the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Tinubu thereafter approved that Alpha Beta Consulting Limited be awarded consultancy contract for the assessment and collection on behalf of the Lagos State government, all taxes and internally generated revenue due and payable to the state at a 10% consultancy fee, subject to a benchmark which varies from time to time. He noted further that due to the technology deployed by him, the internally generated revenue of the state grew from a base of about 10 billion naira in 2002 to over 300 billion naira in 2019. Well, things fall apart in 2010 or thereabout. He alleged Mr. Tinubu directed that the incorporation structure of the Alpha Beta Consulting Limited be changed from a limited liability company to limited liability partnership under a newly promulgated law of the Lagos State government. Mr. Apara said Mr. Tinubu explained to him that the purpose was to further shield his involvement in Alpha Beta Consulting Limited from public scrutiny. This was done in 2010. Mr. Apara claimed that Mr. Tinubu thereafter directed that Mr. Ogumola be designated as managing partner of Alpha Beta Consulting Limited, while he was designated as deputy managing partner. He explained further that in 2014, Mr. Tinubu directed that Mr. Ogumola should cease being the managing partner, and he then became the managing partner with access to review the financial records. But things took a dramatic turn sometime in 2016 when Mr. Tinubu told him he had received feedback that Apara was reviewing past financial records of the company and he was displeased with this action. He claimed Mr. Tinubu therefore announced that he intends to bring Mr. Doherty into the management of the company as managing director to take over the financial management of the company, while Mr. Apara should revert to his former role as deputy managing director and not get involved in the company's financial affairs. Alright, the second defendant, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, also warned the claimant not to even think of exposing his involvement in the financial affairs of the first defendant to the EFCC, as the then acting chairman of EFCC, Ibrahim Magu, will always protect him. The second defendant, Mr. Apara, said in the writ. The second defendant, Tinubu, also threatened to use the agencies of the Lagos State government, such as the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service (LIRS) and the Lagos State Building Control Agency, to harass the assets of the claimant if the claimant ever betrayed him. Mr. Paras said he disagreed with the Mr. Tinubu's request that he should revert to the role of a deputy. Instead, the claimant agreed with the second defendant that he will transition to a consultant to the first defendant to manage the technology and get remunerated on a monthly basis for this task, he claimed. Thereafter, the third defendant was brought to the office premises of the first defendant by Mr. Tunde Badejo, a partner, and introduced to the staff as the new managing director of the first defendant. All right, on to this one. There's been a lot of reactions on social media, and people have said that there is trouble in paradise. Time for Lagosians to be free from Tinubu clutches. And meanwhile, some are still of the opinion that Tinubu will never go unpunished for suffering Lagosians and for making Lagosians to suffer. In fact, the Nigerian entirely, and they have said it that nothing will make Tinubu to get to that presidential stage. Even at his age, he does not want to relent. He still wants to be cheating and making more money for himself. He is a selfish human being. That has been said so far. Well, that's it, my people, on this one. Meanwhile, let me have more takes from you on this, and remember to subscribe for more updates. Thanks and God bless.